Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, my name is Niamat Kaita. I am from Team BE, third semester. Okay, I will tell you about how to face education 4.0. Education is still very focused on teachers as a center of knowledge and textbooks for material resource. This method is better known as Education 1.0. More than 5 decades, Internet penetration has begun to be recognized by some people, especially in the early 2000s. The Education 1.0 model is no longer relevant, so the concept of Education 2.0 was born. The role of education is not entirely on the teacher, but also on exchange of ideas with students. Rather, interaction can be teacher with students, student with others, student and student with expert. Schools are starting to have buildings, not just school grounds. Development such as laboratories and school computer networks were the beginning of this change. It was then that students began to get to know the practice and find out more extensive knowledge with the internet. At that time, students may have been looking for all the information. It could be through Wikipedia or other learning websites. 2010 is a new era in the world of education. A new model of learning is appealed, namely Education 3.0. The learning process is not only with the teacher but collaborative and mutual finding out. Lectures also come from professionals and people who are experts in their field. That way, this knowledge will be easier to focus on students as well as to see the talents of the child in the future. The most noticeable breakthrough is the birth of a repository that contains digital education content. He can access it anytime and anywhere. The learning process is more flexible and focused according to the wishes of students. For example, Pustekom has built education-based learning content called Learning House, Kuiper, Teachers, Room to Genius. Content creator or user can also come from students. This makes students more active and interactive in applying their knowledge of society. Entering the next era, namely in 2018, the direction of education is changing very rapidly compared to before. The education concept 4.0 was born, which expands flexibility and creativity. The learning process is often done remotely or telelearning. The main concept applied to Education 4.0 puts forward 6 main things, namely is various times and place. The learning process is not only in the classroom like previous education. The amount of duration in class is reduced and there will be lots of study time in different times and species. The learning system is resourced. Theoretical material is mostly done outside the classroom while practical is done in the classroom. Personalized learning. This learning process will adjust the student in understanding the material. he will solve the answer according to their respective abilities. Like playing a game, those who are more able to solve challenges will quickly level up, so it's no longer a way to hit the average student ability. Free choice. The system will be chosen by the student according to the device program of technically in learning that he wants. Here students will practice the learning method that they feel most comfortable with so that their abilities continue to be honed. Project-based, students are invited to apply the skills they have learned in various situations, like learning how to install computer, decode structure, and code. So the experience will be felt to later be applied in everyday life in their environment. In education 4.0, students are no longer students who used to be. If their knowledge surpasses their teacher, unlimited access to information in an access. Instead of having to read material books that look very boring, he can access all knowledge with his gadget. There is no longer the concept of a teacher lecturing at length or writing down words on the blackboard. The role in the current era is more in the continuous mentoring process. For example, when applying with existing IT devices in school, then again the ability to solve problems is even more different because teamwork is something that stands out in education 4.0. Finally, the appraisal process no longer focuses on values but the process of struggling in it. The class model is based on digital classroom and also use the EOT concept. This platform will carry out the process of remote academic activities, allow students to learn via video, PPT, and even online text. This concept was born when the lecture schedule was very busy and made it impossible for him to enter the class. The platform of our website can be accessed easily. Later in the exam process, there will be an online test, a webcam monitored exam and sensors. When chatting, such as looking at book, it will automatically be detected from the application because it does not focus on grades. Automatically, the procedure in the exam is not as heavy and the very system, so that students can prioritize a sense of honesty in reading education, not just values. At the lecture level, there will be Internet of Things technology, one of which is a certain ID so that they know whether the student is in class or not. This scanning process is what teachers or lecturers do to their students or students. The ID is in the form of an IoT-based smartwatch. Anyone who is turned off even late will find out. Even more complete with the application of blockchain. This concept was only applied to a peer-to-peer based cryptocurrency system because of its global nature. Blockchain is very suitable to the developed in various fields of education. Its application is in the use of blockchain-based certificate. Chatting in the world of education is the big reason blockchain is overcoming it. Fake diplomas, falsification of names, grades are like the world of education. The existence of blockchain, which is decentralized, seems to make it difficult for people to fake diplomas, especially in the era of technology. Trust and transparency are mandatory and blockchain over them. Of the learning location that has implemented this concept is the number one campus in the world. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology USA, as well as implementing 4.0 based education. This concept can build the character of every student, especially being an honest person from an early age. Technology has become one of the wisely chosen ways. That way we don't need to be afraid our children need to be afraid of facing change in the future. In education, he is ready to compete. Change in the world or work and the task of robots in replacing humans is not average in the slightest, because we manage to become unique and specific human beings. Lastly, we must appreciate the role of teacher and government. The application of education 4.0 is considered to help adjust learning methods according to the time. The teacher also rise to the class, not just teaching. They become agents of change and agents of progress to make their students active when what they want. And thank you. More or less, I apologize. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.